I have had a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook and here on YouTube over the last couple months asking, should they buy the Wrangler with a diesel engine or the 3.6 liter gas engine? And man, that's a tough decision to make. But I think what I can do in this video, because I've got some experience with both, is offer at least my opinion for what it's worth and help you make an informed decision. Plus, we've got all kinds of cool stuff to talk about the channel and some things going on and some stuff that's coming up. I think this is going to be a cool time to hang out here today. Just drink a little coffee on this episode of Coffee One Take. Stay tuned. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to TrailRecon. I'm Brad, and on this special edition of Coffee One Take, we're welcoming the new year by talking about some cool things that I've got coming up, and I want to address a question that I've been getting asked over and over and over again over the last couple months about the diesel versus the gas, whether it's the 3.6 liter or the 2.0 liter. I've got some good information here that might help some people in making that decision. But I really want to just say thank you for sticking with me this last year. I know it's been a challenging year for a lot of people out there. Hopefully you've enjoyed hanging out in the videos and in the garage and some of the stuff we've been doing. I know we didn't get to do everything that I wanted to do in 2020. I mean, I remember when I did my 2020 video, I was all optimistic about all these things we're gonna do, and boy, it just fell flat on a lot of that stuff. I mean, we were supposed to go to Alaska. I was supposed to take the Cherokee Chief on a epic vintage relic run. We were supposed to go all across the U.S. to a bunch of the expos and to SEMA. None of that stuff happened. And so we had to make do. You know, it was nice that my sons were home and my wife was home. And so we got to do some projects here in the garage and we got to do some local stuff. But it wasn't the epic. Excuse me. See, Coffee One Take. No edits here. But we didn't get to do a whole lot of the stuff that, you guys are going to think, oh, Brad's got COVID now. We didn't get to do a lot of the stuff that we would have planned to do about going across the country. And so I still got to do some cool adventures. I mean, we got to go, a couple places here in Southern California and Arizona and Utah and Colorado. We didn't go crazy. Went to Baja again this year, which was nice. But man, there's so many places that I want to go. And I did 26 years in the military, and my wife and I, a couple years back, we sat down there and figured out I've been to 43 different countries across the world. And I love traveling. I love being in the Navy. But you know what I haven't done? I haven't spent a lot of time visiting all the states in the United States. And so starting in 2021, and how long this will take me, whether it'll take me 2 or 3 years. My goal is 2 years, but we'll see, fingers crossed, is I want to visit all 50 states. And not just visit all 50 states, but I want to go there with an off-road vehicle. I want to go do some trails. I want to camp. I want to get an opportunity to meet some people, get a good experience for the culture, and then at the end of it, figure out where I want to go back to and explore more. And so, going to Baja is fun. I definitely want to go to Canada eventually, but right now, I want to spend some time going to all 50 states. And so that's kind of my new goal. Now, I'm not going to make predictions like I did in 2020. I'm just going to set my goal and I'm going to kick it off. And so I'm actually going to kick it off starting here in about 3 weeks. I'm going to the first state. And sometimes I'll go to one state. Sometimes I'll go do multiple states. And I'll go out for a week and come home, spend a couple days home, a couple weeks home maybe, and then go back out again and do it, just kind of back and forth a little bit. That way I'm not gone all the time. My wife won't be mad at me. But I get an opportunity to go out and explore some places, share those experiences with you guys. And I know a lot of people have already reached out and said, oh, Brad, we'd love to do a meetup when you get to where you're going. And I definitely want to do that once things kind of calm down. And so we'll talk about meetups and all that kind of stuff once things are kind of back to normal a little bit. Because I'm looking forward to doing that. Be able to go out to the East Coast, the Midwest, and wherever, and meet some of you guys would be awesome. I am all ears, though, if you have places or locations that would make for some good meetups. That would be cool. So definitely let me know in the comments below if you know some cool places in your area. I'll definitely be taking notes on all that kind of stuff. Now, that's my plan going forward, is just is just to start going to all 50 states and do some cool adventures. Now, what vehicle will I take? Well, the cool thing is that I have a little bit of diversity in some vehicles, and so I'm going to take multiple vehicles. We'll take the Wrangler, I'll take the new Power Wagon, which, man, I love the Power Wagon. I've fallen in love with that truck, guys, and we'll get to that in a second. I'm definitely going to take the Cherokee Chief, but there's a little bit more work that needs to be done on that. And my son is actually going to be deploying in the Navy for about 7 months, which means the JK Wrangler is going to be sitting here, so I will probably steal that for some of the hardcore adventures that we're going to do. So there'll be some different vehicles coming and going. You know, I think sometimes people think that this channel is about the vehicle, and really for me it's not. It's about the adventure. That's how it all started. But you'll see different vehicles along the way. So let's talk. First, let's do this. I didn't do this last month. Let's talk about the rig of the month. So I am loving my Ram Power Wagon, and so I've been doing a lot of research on the Ram Power Wagon. And one of the builds that I've been following on Instagram is from at Straight Ton, and it's such a cool truck. It's a Power Wagon, and he's done all kinds of cool stuff to it, but it's a little subdued. You have to actually really dig in and see what he's doing, how he's hooking up his lights, his communication, his electrical stuff. And so I'm really enjoying checking out that rig. So I have never met the guy. I've messaged him a couple times just to ask him a few questions. But if you are looking for a Ram Power Wagon to follow on Instagram, that's a pretty good one to check out. Now, I have been getting a lot of questions about what is going on with the Power Wagon. You're seeing a lot of Jeep stuff, and you haven't seen a lot of Power Wagon stuff since I got it. And the challenge with that is, you know, for a Jeep, man, there's a dozen websites you can go and find aftermarket parts and whatever you need, information, all kinds of stuff. And you can start building your Wrangler right away. And there's just a wealth of resources available for that. Not quite so much for trucks, the Ram Power Wagon specifically. There's some information out there and there's some good websites out there. But I'm having to do a little bit more homework than I would with the Wrangler. And parts are just not that plentiful. I've ordered several things that I'm super excited about, but they just haven't come yet. And so I'm hoping they start arriving here soon because I want to start loading that thing up, and I'm going to take that on some of these trips. Guys, I love that Ram Power Wagon. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my Jeep, but that truck is really growing on me, and I've got some cool things planned for it. I'm super excited. It's funny because this is Coffee One Tech. I'm allowed to take divergence here, right? So when my son and I were out flexing the new suspension wheels and tires, we were out there in some of the ruts and stuff, and I said, I don't know, what do you think, Jordan? Do you think I could bring the Power Wagon in here? He's like, nah, I don't think I'd make it. And I was like, challenge accepted. So look, I didn't get the Ram Power Wagon to be a rock crawler, but I definitely need to know where my limitations are. So I'm going to take that out and I'm going to kind of test it out a little bit, and we'll see. You know, maybe I'll get stuck. I'm not going to bang it up. That's not the plan. But I definitely want to go see, you know, how flexy can we get? You know, can we put it up on some big rocks and some hills and see? That way, when I'm out on adventures and I come up to an obstacle, at least know, you know what? I got this. I can do this. I think the Power Wagon's super capable. Let's talk about the Cherokee Chief. Hands down, that is my favorite vehicle in the driveway, in the garage. It's usually in the garage because what I will do is I'll just come out here and tinker with things or clean something or whatever. And when I got that, you know, it wasn't a plan for me to do a whole bunch of videos on that. I just wanted to have it for personal reasons because I love classic cars, and an opportunity to take it out on some adventures and share that with you. And so the challenge has been is that there's actually a lot of good resources on there, some good forums and stuff about people talking about restoring those and building them up. But if you want to find a how-to video on a Cherokee Chief or a Wagoneer is more abundant, good luck on that. There are some out there, but they're not great. And I've actually been trying to find information on certain things that, you know, cooling systems and brake systems and all this kind of stuff. And I'm watching YouTube and I'm searching the internet and I'm like, gosh, I can't find what I'm looking for here. And so I'm gonna shift gears a little bit. I said I wasn't gonna do a whole lot of videos on that thing, but I think I'm gonna try, at least share my experience. So if I'm redoing the brake system or I'm redoing the cooling system, I'm going to turn the camera on and I'm going to let it roll. Not as an expert, but at least share with you what I'm doing and how I'm figuring it out. Because the Cherokee Chief, which I'm going to do an update video here soon, has a lot of things that need to be addressed before I take it out on some adventures. I mean, look, I'll take it for a drive just about every week. Take it up to the mountains to some easy dirt roads. But if I'm going to take it hundreds and hundreds of miles away, I'm going to take it through some mild to moderate terrain, it definitely is going to need a little more work. And so I'm going to do that. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm excited. I don't know. It brings me joy to come in the garage and tinker on that old car and just make it, make it good again. Somebody call the Jeep a car. It's a Jeep. It's a car. It's a Cherokee Chief. That's what it is. I love it. So more to come on that. I think I'm going to do a kind of an update video, and then we will kind of kick off some videos. I don't know how long it's going to take me. There's a lot going on, but I'm definitely going to, as I work on it, I'm going to do some of those videos. So that's what's going on with those vehicles. Now, I've got some notes here that I took because now we want to get to the meat and potatoes of what you clicked on this video for, which is diesel versus gas Wrangler. And so when I say gas Wrangler, I'm referring to either the 3.6 liter or the 2.0. This is the 3.0 turbo. I know some guys overseas have different versions of it. It's not an easy decision to make. I mean, I was super excited when the Wrangler diesel became available here in the US, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I just ordered one. And so I ordered it, outfitted it the way I wanted, and I had to wait. It was a while. It was almost 3 months that I had to wait for this to arrive. And it was just all this anticipation. I can't wait to get the diesel. I can't wait to drive it. And I got the diesel, drove home, and got like 26 miles to the gallon, and the torque was pretty nice. Super excited to have it. And now I wonder, was it the right decision? I think it was, but I think there's still some pros and cons that if you're considering buying a diesel that maybe you need to take into consideration. So I've got kind of 5 things here. And so we're going to start off with price, because price is a big one. When you talk about the Wrangler diesel option, it's over $4,000 more than the gas option. So if you are wanting to buy the diesel for its gas mileage savings, that's not the right choice because it will take you forever. It will take you years to make up $4,000 worth of gas saving. I think if you want a Jeep that gets good gas mileage, one, wait for the 4xe, the electric hybrid, the one that's coming out, wait for that one. Or two, the 2.0 liter gets pretty decent gas mileage with 37s. It's not unrespectable. Unrespectable? I don't think that's a word. It's okay. It's all right. But I don't think you buy the diesel because you want good gas mileage. It's just it's a nice side effect. You buy the diesel because of a couple other things. But let me talk about gas mileage because I'm going to get asked, and I get asked all the time, what is my gas mileage? So when I got it, bone stock, I was getting 26 all day long, no problems. If I behaved myself, I could push it up to 28, 29, no worries. But then I put some gear in the back, we had the rooftop tent, we had a rack, some storage stuff, and I threw 37s on here. And right now I can get 21, 22, 23 if I'm really, really behaving myself in the slow lane the whole time. But typically just average driving, running around with all the gear on there, no rooftop tent, but we'll talk about that in another video. The 37s, all my gear, I can get well over 20, which is pretty good. Now, for me, that was important because of range. Because I'm going to be going, I always go long. I always drive a long ways, right? And see there, you should have edited that, Brad, but we don't do that. I like to drive a long ways to go find cool trails that I've never been to. And so the gas mileage wasn't a big deal for me, but the range was really cool. But I was a little disappointed when I realized that the diesel came out and it was only an 18.3 gallon gas tank versus the 21, which means it's a little smaller because the DEF tank has to sit back there. They had to trim the gas tank down. I wish they didn't have to do that because how cool would it be if it was a 21 gallon tank and I was getting, 20 plus miles to the gallon. I mean, I think it would be pretty awesome. Now you could get the Wrangler gas and do, there are some extended fuel range tanks that you could get there. So if range was something you were worried about and you didn't want the diesel option, you wanted to go with gas, you could put an extended range tank on there. And I thought about that. The only challenge with that is that it adds a little bit of weight. You lose a little bit of ground clearance depending on what tank you go with. I haven't seen any that don't really disrupt your ground clearance. It adds a little complexity to your vehicle, which I don't know if you want that complexity on long trips when you're in remote areas. And at the end of the day, I would need an extra, kind of skid plate or whatever because I would probably bang it up. That's probably what happened. But I haven't seen any options yet for the diesel. So maybe there will be some extended fuel range tanks for the diesel, which will make that really nice. Right now, I've got a couple Rotopacks that I'm going to use specifically for diesel. I'll take that with me. But look, with that fuel mileage and the 18.3, I'm still getting, anywhere from, 50 to 80 miles more on a tank of gas than I would. Okay, so I just had to swap the battery in the camera. Nice job there, Brad. You're really professional. So what I was saying was, hopefully somebody will come out with a diesel extended fuel range tank, but the Rotopacks will help for now. Okay, so don't buy it if you're trying to get good gas mileage, because that $4,000 you're not going to make it up. But if you want the range, you got it. Torque. So the gas 3.6 liter has 260 pound-feet of torque. I'm not sure what the 2.0 has, but the diesel has 442 pound-feet of torque, which I was like, I'm going to drive this thing and it's just going to kick me back in my seat. I'm going to love this. Not the case. Don't buy it if you want that seat of the pants torque. The torque you will notice, though, is when you're climbing a hill and it doesn't downshift. When it stays and holds 8th gear at a very low RPM the entire time, because it just doesn't care. That engine just goes and goes and goes. It holds those lower RPMs. With putting the 37s on, now I'm noticing it'll downshift into 7th, but still just climbs low RPMs. Before with the Gladiator, with my wife's Jeep, with the the JK is a different story. But it would downshift 2 or 3 times. The RPMs would come up. The diesel does not care. So that torque is really, really nice. It doesn't seem to mind these tires so much. I have been getting asked, will I re-gear? I'm going to give it a little bit more time before I make that decision. I mean, I definitely noticed the reduced acceleration, but I don't know if it's dramatic enough that I need to re-gear. The diesel comes with 373 gears, so maybe, if it came with 410 gears, I think it would be spot on. Maybe if I'm going to re-gear, I would go 4, 5, 6. I think 4.88 would be too much. I don't know that I'm going to do that. We're going to let it run for a while and just see how it goes. But the torque with the diesel, you're not going to get that with the gas engine. So that's something to consider. Now, the diesel is heavier than the gas engine. It's 400 pounds more weight on the front of this Jeep than a standard Wrangler. That's a big deal, especially if you're going to be primarily using your Jeep for rock crawling. If you're going to go hit it hard, that 400 pounds could definitely come into play, whether or not you're going up an obstacle or you're getting a little off camber or whatnot. Lighter is always better when you're doing that kind of stuff. Is it going to matter for easy to moderate trails and hitting an obstacle from time to time? I hope not. But it is something that has to be taken into consideration. I mentioned this recently, there are only a few manufacturers right now that are making suspension kits that are designed to manage that extra 400 pounds. So you got to be careful on what suspension you choose. But that weight is something you got to think about. I mean, it just depends on how you're going to use your vehicle. For me, I think that's going to be fine. I mean, my vehicles are heavy anyway. No surprise there. Long-term reliability. So I can speak about the 3.6 because I've had the JK for a long time, and my wife's Jeep and a Gladiator, those were all the 3.6. I can't speak on the 2 liter because I don't have any experience with that, but I can tell you that the 3.6 is pretty reliable. I mean, it's got its quirks. I mean, the oil coolers and radiators and little things here that we've had to mess with, but all in all, those engines, the JK engine, it's got over almost 110,000 miles, and it's still going strong. And I think they've worked out a lot of the bugs in that 3.6 liter over the years, and I think it's a great, reliable engine. Is the 3 liter diesel, is that thing reliable? Well, I think the verdict's still out. I mean, they put this in a couple of their cars, but not in this configuration. They made some slight changes to this. And so I don't know if the long-term reliability is going to be the same it is with the 3.6. I sure hope so, because I don't plan on getting rid of this for a while. I hope we don't run into any challenges. I do know a couple people that have run into some challenges with their diesel, but then there's plenty others out there that are not. And so I don't know. Reliability is kind of up in the air. I know what reliability is with the 3.6 liter. Look, it's not Toyota reliability. That's what the Toyota guys are saying behind now. But we at least know what it is. It's pretty respectable. I mean, it's not bad. You know, there's a couple things that are going to go wrong, but it's kind of a mystery right now. What's going to happen with this thing at 50 or 100,000 miles? We'll figure that out. Okay, number 5 on my list. I think this one is kind of important, and that is aftermarket availability. I mean, a lot of people buy their Jeeps because they want to personalize them and they want to make them their own and they want to modify them and add things to them. And if you go onto some of the websites, there's an abundance of stuff. Just like I was talking about the Power Wagon, there's abundance of stuff for the Jeep Wrangler, but not so much for the Power Wagon. There's a limited amount of stuff that is specific for the Jeep Wrangler diesel. And let me give you one example. The air compressor that I installed on my wife's Jeep, I also put that on my Gladiator because I just loved how that system fit right in the engine bay. Everything was nice and clean and tucked away. I can't install it in here because it doesn't work with the diesel. Suspensions, choosing the right suspension for this is, I'm hoping more and more manufacturers start to roll out. There's a few out there that are doing it, but those are some things you got to consider. I mean, what do you want to do to your Jeep? And is having that diesel going to limit you to doing some of those modifications? I think even there's some bumpers that have to be redeveloped or redesigned in order to work with the diesel. Shocks sometimes can have a challenge with that. So just take a look at that. If you are somebody that wants to modify your vehicle, the 3.6, all day long, this one, there's some things you got to think about. So, all right. So there you go. So there's a little bit of insight for me. I'm not going to tell you which one to choose. I'm not going to say that the diesel is better than the gas or vice versa. I'm looking forward to getting this thing out and using this and go visiting all 50 states, using all the vehicles, but this will probably be the primary vehicle, let's be honest, because this is going to get me in and out of just about any situation I need to. But I'm super excited, guys, about 2021, and I hope you guys have had a great holiday. I hope you are all doing well, you're staying safe, and you are as optimistic about 2021 as I am. I'm really looking forward to it. There's something else in my garage sitting right there that I really want to tell you guys about, but we're just going to have to wait until the next video. All right, I hope you guys are having a good one. Thanks for hanging out with me. Happy New Year. We'll see you in the next video.